Welcome to Actual Scale Modelling. This is part 4 of the Airfix Academy comparison build. In this part, I'm going to be mostly concentrating on the Academy. In fact, probably all the Academy is going to be featured in this video. And it will be concentrating on the second page of the instruction sheet. So let's jump into this and see how well I get on. Starting off the Academy kit on page 2 of the instructions. And the first thing to go in is the landing bay compartment, and that just gets pushed in. But there's no problems here, and it fits in between two location struts within the fuselage. And then it's on to the rear. Now on the Airfix one, this was a clear part, but on the Academy it's a solid piece of plastic. Then in next is the gangway for the side gunner position. This was again easy enough to fit. It does have to butt up against the fuselage, and it forms a tight fit. So it may require a little bit of jigging around just to get in the proper position. Next is the front landing bay compartment. This is a bit more trickier to fit. It actually goes on at an angle, and it took a little bit of dry fitting to work out how exactly it should go. Next is the cockpit compartment. That just goes up above the compartment for the landing gear. It should fit snugly right in on top of it. Again, it's a bit tight in there, but it does fit in quite well. The instrument panel can now go in. This is very tricky to fit. The location point is quite small, and it's right next to the location point for the actual controller as well, the steering column as such. The instrument panel really has to go in first. The instructions don't tell you this, but it was only after a bit of dry fitting I was able to figure it out. You want to take close attention to the location points on the instrument panel and control bar as well, because as I said, they're so tight and they can only go in one way, and if they're off center slightly, then you'll run into trouble. The front turret's meant to go into this point. I would suggest leaving it off until you're about ready to close everything up, because it will just fall out every time, unless you cement it into position, of course, but you will remove any free movement you have. So as you can see, I'm closing it up, and I've got the front turret actually on the map waiting to go in, because I said it just kept on popping out. As soon as the this little panel here, remember on the Airfix one it's clear, that just kept on popping up as well, because it's on a slight V-shaped angle. It just has difficulty fitting in all in one go, and this is one of the reasons why I try to button this up at stages instead of doing it all in one go. That way you can have better control of it. It's only now that I'll put in the front turret. As you can see, the back half is actually closed up, held in with clamps, and now I can place in the turret and start cementing the seams to close everything up. And from there I'll just systematically go down and apply the cement to finish off the fuselage. Now where the cockpit is, there's a gap behind the seat in the bulkhead. I'm not sure whether that's meant to be there or not. So what I've done is I've just cut out a bit of plastic card to create my own bulkhead. I'll paint it in the same colour as the interior before placing it in. The Airfix didn't have this gap, but this one does. So I'm not sure why it's there, whether it's just saving on money on plastic, or it was an error, or I may have made the error, I'm not sure, but it's an easy fix anyway. So I'm going on to the props now, and I'm using Tamiya's XF yellow flat, so it's matte yellow, and I'm painting that all over the blade, so when I go onto the black it'll be an even coat. For the engine, it's Tamiya's X56 metallic grey, and the inside is just the flat black colour, which is Tamiya's XF1 flat black, and that's just inside the engine cowl itself. For the central part of the prop, it's Rebel Aquacolor 98 silver. I'm using this silver instead of the Tamiya one is because simply I prefer this silver colour. The silver aluminium colour on the Tamiya I don't think it's very good. It's more like a dull grey. onto the weapon systems now. Now, I always find this easier to build these on the sprue. It's just for the ease of holding it and everything together, really. Yeah, you can take them off, clean them all up, and place them together like you're meant to. But if they're solid enough on the sprue and the contact points are not above the actual contact line when you're cementing them together, it's quite a good idea to do it this way. And it's the same with the fin part of the weapons as well. Now, when putting these together, these items can be rather small. So again, it's easier to build them on the sprue if possible. It just cuts down on clamps and everything like that getting in the way. Then once the two components are made up, I'm taking off the fin part of the weapon system, then laying it on to the main unit. Once that's attached and dries, and then I can start thinking about painting. But this will be done on the sprue as well. So while I'm waiting for the weapons to dry, I'm going back to the little bit of plastic card that I made up. Now that it's dried, I'm just going to be fitting it into the space I want covered up. As I said, I'm not sure whether that's 100% accurate, but it just didn't look right for me. And I think it should have had some sort of bulkhead between the seat and the rear compartment like this. Moving on to the wings, now there's a set of holes to be drilled here. These are for the weapon systems to be attached. There's 8 little holes in total on each side to drill in, but it's all you can do this with a pair of pliers as well, or tweezers. You don't necessarily need a drill. It's quite soft plastic. So as you can see, I'm moving on to the props once more, and I'm using Tamiya's XF1 flat black, and this is for the blades. You can mask off the line if you want, but generally I'll do it by eye. Sometimes I'll mask them off. It depends how I feel, and it depends how big the blade is as well, of course. But as a rule, I'll start slightly down from where I want the black to meet the yellow, and just in case I make any mistakes, then work my way down the actual blade. 9 times out of 10, I'll get a good distance between the tip and the black, the yellow and the black, I should say. It's back to the weapons, and I'm painting these in Tamiya's XF67 NATO green. Now, to be honest with you, I have no idea if this is the colour of the weapons or not, whether this should be black, green, yellow, whatever. It doesn't really give you a choice on the instructions, so I'm just giving it a flat green colour. So I decided to put down the first coat of paint, so XF1 flat black by Tamiya. Generally I don't do it at this stage, especially when it's all going to be one colour, but I'm going to be putting the bombs in, so I needed a coat of paint on the bottom before I placed the bombs on, hence why I'm doing it now. So it's time to make up the engine's prop. First of all, the pin goes in the centre from behind. Again, it depends whether you want these props to move, whether you put cement in here or not. It is doable, obviously, to do both ways. It'll just take a matter of practice if you've never done it before, but it's just a tiny amount of cement you would need if you're having them stationary. I'm using River Acrylamide Silver here to paint one of the probes, well, 2 of the probes. Generally I wouldn't do this until near the end, but the instructions say do it now. And since this is the comparison video, that I'm following the instructions to the letter. So the engines fit inside the cowl. Make sure these go on straight. They can generally only go in one way, but you can actually force them to go in the wrong way if you're not careful. So you want to dry fit these, but don't press down too much, or you'll find you won't be able to get the engine back out without damaging it. But once it's in, then it's time to place on the actual prop itself. First of all, the little cap just goes in the centre. And while that's drying, I'll just take the opportunity to make up the main central piece of the wing. It's self-explanatory. The pins, location pins, line up quite well. You may need a couple of clamps. I put a couple in, but I don't think it was actually necessary, really. but it's always better to err on the side of caution. So it's all that's left to do in this part of the video is to place the props inside the engine cowl, and I'll call it a day on this part 4. So if you haven't done so already, why don't you have a look at the channel and see my other builds. There's probably something there for everyone by now. Also subscribe to the channel if you can, and if you do, make sure you hit that notification bell. That way you'll be kept up to date not only with this build but all my future builds as well, of course. Hit the like button, don't be afraid to leave a comment, and of course you can share the video. But for now, thank you all very much for watching. Bye bye.